What's up, guys? Welcome to Sit Down Sunday. Sorry it's a bit late. Clock's changing, time's changing, all that's completely thrown me today, so I've been all over the place. But hopefully everything should be up and running. Make sure that's working. It should all be fine. So, how have you all been? What have you all been working on? We didn't do Sit Down Sunday last weekend because I was at a tournament at Warhammer World for the Age of Sigmar Throne of Skulls, which was pretty good. Took the Skaven along to that and had a good weekend there. Sorry guys, making sure everything's all good. We are live on Twitch, Facebook and YouTube this afternoon. So yeah, if you are new to Sit Down Sunday, then it's just literally hour and a half, couple of hours sitting down. I just tend to work on some personal projects or some commissions we've got going on through Glasshammer. And if you guys are working on hobby too, it's just a case of just a bit of a sit down and chat all things hobby, painting, converting, anything you want really, nice and informal. So if you are watching, you can come and say hi in the chat, and yeah, I think all is good there. So today I am working on a little bit of basing for some models. So primarily at the minute still for my Skaven. So I'll just show you on here. So the basic gist of the bases, if you can sort of see, it's just like a grey gravel with some dark grass, a few tufts, but then the bright green glowing sticks that you can see on the base. For my Skaven are bits of warpstone, which if you don't know is basically the energy source that Skaven use for all their crazy weapons. So I've just been adding a few of those onto the bases just to break the bases up a little bit. So I've got a couple of these big catapult models. I've got a plague furnace that needs its base finishing off. So I've just been working on those lately. Something else I've been working on, if you haven't seen in our other videos, I did a tutorial video this week on how to paint Imperial Fists, more specifically how to paint like the armour on them and things like that. So we worked on, this is the model that I used as my initial tester. I know it's not great at the minute just because of the light. But that was the initial tester model using the Primaris, and then we painted the Hellblaster Sergeant on the video. So I've still got his base to do, which is kind of what got me thinking about doing the bases, because obviously he is on a slightly too big a base. But yeah, like on a note of the Imperial Fists, I found these really cool inks at Hobbycraft. Probably buy them at pretty much any craft store. I've got the yellow one, which I've obviously done for the Imperial Fist, and I've got a green one, which I've probably I'll use for some Nurgle stuff, and I've done on some of the Skaven models. But they are really nice through an airbrush. A friend of mine had sent me a video of someone using the inks, and I sort of didn't really think about it much, to be fair, and then I thought, well, actually, if you can run it through an airbrush, it's pretty cheap airbrush paint. So like this size pot, for example, which is a normal Vallejo air paint pot size, you know, these can be like £2.50 plus, whereas this for that size pot is £5.50. So, you know, for double your money, you're getting more than double the amount of paint, and plus the ink seems to flow a little bit nicer through the airbrush than even the airbrush paint, and it cleans out really nice because it is just acrylic paint. So that's actually been pretty cool to use. I wouldn't mind getting some of the other colours. So yeah, it's been pretty cool testing those out. There's quite a few of them as well. There's you know, reds, blues, purples. So I'll probably end up picking up most of the range of those over time, because they seem, it's a, you know, a totally different medium as well. I hadn't even thought about using something like that. Like that kind of thing is obviously normally used for just art and, you know, sort of, if you like you know, canvas and paper painting and that kind of thing, as opposed to miniature. So so yeah, what have we been working on, guys? Anyone who's watching the stream live, you can join the chat, and we can chat about what you guys have been painting. If anyone's got any questions about anything, model related, gaming related, anything like that, then we can try and discuss that. But for now, I'm just going to look at recreating some more of these cool little warp stone things that I've put on the base. So for these, I've literally used matchsticks. So if we can see, just use normal matchsticks. These actually came out of a matchstick kit that I already had lying around, so I, you know, ended up with like 1,000 of them. I've made some terrain and things like that out of them before, so I figured, well, I'll use some of the rest of these for something else. Figured I'd like to put something else on these bases, and that's kind of what I came up with. So all I end up really doing with these, if I can find my knife, is literally just cutting them like at a bit of an angle. So if you just cut the matchstick at an angle, then it means that when you're sticking it to the base, you can make it lean or whatever. And I'm just having these. Some of these bases were already done. So I've had these models quite a while, and I've just basically rebased them, as in like recoloured them and added new grass onto it and new tufts and things. But all the sand and everything was already done. But probably when I'm doing the new bases, I'll have these put on the base before I put the sand on, because then it'll look like they're actually bursting out of the ground. At the minute, these look a bit too flat on top, but they do the trick to just break the base up. So I'm just going to cut a couple of these to go onto the bases. And yeah, they've been pretty cool actually. You can buy crystals, like basing crystals online, but bearing in mind that the stuff I'm using at the minute is like 140 infantry models, I thought, well, I'm not going to actually sit there and you know, do another 140 something bases, or buy 140 bases worth of these crystals. So I thought, well, if I use something like, if I can find something that I can buy that's really cheap, then I can just use that. So I figured, matchsticks, that'll work. They look like a sort of crystal stone block type thing. And then I think the other thing that you could do with them is just file the edges off a little bit, or cut the edges a bit to make them look a little bit more like some kind of stone. But I've got a commission on at the minute through Glasshammer, or for Glasshammer should I say, doing some bases for the old Lord of Change models, the small ones. Remember these ones? So I've got a commission to basically create new bases for that model size to bring them up to the size of the newer models, which is quite cool really, because that's going to be a bit of a challenge to try and make them stand out enough on that size base. The cool thing about it is though, is because there's going to be a lot more room than you get with the new model, I'm going to hopefully be able to make a bit more of a fancy base on it, you know, make it a bit more three-dimensional rather than just flat with sand and grass. Be able to actually build it up a little bit, maybe put some rocks on there and all that kind of stuff, so should be pretty good fun. So once we've done that, I'm just literally going to super glue these on onto the base, and then I just hand paint them and then just airbrush them up just to get the glowing effect on them. So they don't need to be primed or anything. They're never going to really get touched on the model, so it's not like you have to worry too much like with the actual model itself. You know that you're never going to touch these bits, so the paint's never going to come off. Plus, with it being wood, it will soak up the paint quite well. So just as a little note as well for anyone, there will be no sit down Sunday next week either, because I am running in the Manchester Marathon. So unfortunately I won't be able to stream whilst running that. I'm just trying to put these around the base in some different places. Oops. So it should, providing these don't fall off. So you can just about see the matchsticks on there of how they are, and so I'll just let those dry off a bit more, and then I'll paint those probably with Warpstone Glow, I think it is, that I've been using, Warpstone Glow, and then I'll airbrush with a couple of Vallejo green, vibrant green paints that I've got, and then that'll just breaks the base up a bit more, and it means that you've got something you don't normally see on the base either. You don't see too many you know, extra little bits like that added on, and it's something that at least I can add across the whole army, so not just, you know, a one-off, oh I've found these bits lying around, I'll stick them on, and then you think, oh, I can't actually do this across the whole army, whereas with this, as long as I've got matchsticks I can just keep making it. Just going to check in the stream, guys, a sec. Checking our guys over on Facebook. sharing the stream. Let's post that there. Done. Perfect. So we're going to do that for that base, and then for this one, I'm not entirely sure. I think that's on the wrong way actually. So I built this. I built this with that. Is that better? Kind of. So this is actually, I can take this whole model down to pieces. I can literally still take the wheels and things off, just because it was such a pain to store at one point until I'd finished actually painting it, because all the parts with the amount of wood and beams on it and all that kind of thing. So I figured, oh well, what I'll do is I won't actually fully, put it together, because if you look inside, trying to actually paint inside there and everything is just a nightmare. But there's still a couple of pieces to add actually to the model, so I figured I won't completely assemble it. The only thing now is, because it's been disassembled for so long, is the one part of it's quite springy at the top, so actually assembling, I'm probably going to have to end up gluing that soon to get that sorted out. But the thing is with the Skaven, they're such cool models. They're just absolutely awesome models. They're so characterful, and considering that they're really old as well, they're just pretty awesome. So yeah, I took them to Throne of Skulls last weekend at Warhammer World, and I put a list together that I've been playing with for quite a while, since the new book came out, and it seemed to be working pretty well. And then so thought, well, I'll take it with me. If it doesn't work, then it's only Throne of Skulls, it's only a bit more of a fun event anyway. But if it does work, then we should have quite a good weekend, and at least then I'll know for future events then. So it turned out it did work quite well. In the end we had 3 wins, 2 losses. One of them I sort of messed the game up really, and the other game I lost was to Skaven, so I don't really mind that. But yeah, it was a good event really, to be fair. And they do 40k Throne of Skulls events. They do for 30k and all that kind of stuff as well. So if you've never been along to one, or if you're not a seasoned tournament player, then Throne of Skulls is perfect, because it's a bit more laid back. It's people don't take quite as ridiculous lists as a more competitive event. So it's great for you to just get involved in playing in an event and playing against new people, and just sort of understanding the process of a tournament weekend, without being too worried on, oh, I'm just going to get absolutely smashed around for 5 games. So yeah, if someone hasn't been to a Throne of Skulls, then I would highly recommend it. So yeah, we took them there last weekend. So Now it's just a case of trying to get the army looking pretty good. I only went for a basic paint job to get it ready. Otherwise I just end up rushing stuff and it never looks quite as good as I wanted, and given that, you know, you end up spending quite a lot of money on these armies, I wanted it to look fairly good at least. I'm just going to let that dry off there. And so it's only it's just under a month now until the two Glasshammer events, the St George's Champion, which is the 40k event, and Trinity of Blood, which is the AOS event that Glasshammer are running. Dan and Manny are in charge of the 40k side, whilst I am doing the Age of Sigmar event. So if you know anyone who hasn't got tickets, or if you haven't got a ticket for either one and you want to come down and play, just go onto the website. You can get tickets for all the events on there. So a lot of stuff probably over the next coming couple of weeks on Sit Down Sunday is going to be working on terrain, things like that. So building your own terrain, painting terrain, that kind of thing. So because I'll be getting the tables and things ready for the event in a month. So yeah, we've got that coming up. If you're not already as well, you can sign up to the Glasshammer Elite, which is basically our subscription service where you can get access to the painting tutorials, extra articles, battle reports, all that kind of thing. So again, if you go onto the website, you can sign up. There's different pledge levels for that you can do. Again, guys, if you want to ask any questions or just say hi or what you're working on and things like that, you can just post in the chat. There we go, so that'll be those. So those will be ready for airbrushing. So the next thing I think, I've got some other, I also had for a commission the other day, as part of a larger commission, started painting some of the other Necromunda models. That's the Goliath Sump Croc model, which he's pretty cool. So I started painting him up. He's part of a larger commission. And then for a little painting event that a local gaming group does, I started painting, you can't really see because he's quite dark, but we started painting up this Beast of Nurgle. Now I loved when they changed the model, although it is a little bit, well, it is a little bit derpy. The face isn't great. None of the options I think for the face are particularly good on the Beast, but the model itself is much better. Although it's 25 quid, and they're not exactly amazing in the game, in either game I don't think. But you still got to have some. But I think once I couldn't really find a scheme or a way to paint it that looked okay, because a lot of the colour schemes you just see the green out a bit, and then like the fleshy underbelly. And I didn't really want it to just look like that because it's just the same as most of the things that you see. I wanted it to look a little bit different. So I've gone for sort of like the yellowish tentacles and quite a dark subdued colours on him. So he's nowhere near finished, but at least I found a way I want to start painting him, which is good. So yeah, we're literally just going to wait for those to dry.